Welcome back, everybody. We're getting ready for the potential final game of the European SCL relegations for the summer split. I'm Aggro, that's Taco, and we could be done here, or we could move on to some tiebreakers. If Quantum's able to win this, then they secure their spot returning to the SCL, but if it's Enable, Taco, that means a three-way tie with only dual mains guaranteed their spot.
And that would be probably the ideal situation for dual mains, is for them to go ahead and find their way into the SCL, and I'm sure that they'd be more than excited about that.
Yeah, dual mains already guaranteed their spot in the SCL, went 3-0 today, but now Quantum, it's their turn. We've got to make sure that they can get back there. Enable's trying to keep their hopes alive, and you know Kaz is sitting there hoping for Enable as well to force that tiebreaker. Early bans in pretty quickly here. Susano and Ravin, two junglers targeted out, and make that 3 Hunbats there for Team Enable.
I'm actually a little bit surprised, but I'm happy to see the bots ban so early on, but I am a bit surprised considering that it is Enable with the first pick, so eliminating the bots shows that they really just don't want to look, and there it is, the Cabrakan is immediately the go-to god.
Yeah, Cabrakan seems to be one of those picks that's heavily prioritized thus far by these European SCL hopefuls. Osiris going to be the selection for the solo lane for Quantum. Cabrakan could be in the solo lane here for Enable, but could also be in that jungle, and of course, Suppose could be support as well. Osiris Cernunnos is a pretty scary 1-2 punch to get right off the bat here.
That is probably one of the best situations you could expect for a return fire against a Cabrakan pick early on. And so I'm sure Quantum feel pretty good right now, knowing that they have the Osiris and the Kern locked in.
Awilix going to be the selection here for Enable. Not a pick that we've seen a lot of today, paired with the Ullr, so we're couple picks in, no knockups there to set up for the Awilix, and no jumps to pool for Quantum, so a little bit just looking for the early pressure, I suppose, with this pick, not really worried about the ultimate.
Sometimes you just look for the comfort pick as well. In such an important game, I wouldn't be surprised if Enable just wants to provide their jungler with a more favorable god that they're accustomed to.
Fair enough. Ra going to be the selection for the mid lane for Quantum, and so begins the second banning phase. Xing Chen and Nemesis going to be taken off the board first by Quantum and Enable respectively. Vulcan, a god that we haven't seen a lot of so far yet today, but always has that threat of rearing his head in that mid lane. And then Fafnir has been a very, very popular pick all day long.
Just trying to remove any sort of setup potential that could combine with this Awilix, and Vulcan is probably the most obvious go-to, but there is still the possibility of a Hobwa coming through for the side of Enable.
Could be Hobwa. Geb also a possibility, but with Athena locked in for the support for Quantum there, a pick that we've seen quite a bit of today. Bellona going to be the solo laner there between for Enable up against that Osiris, a matchup that we saw plenty of at Smite Masters, and Scylla, so no knockups for Team Enable. They're not worried about that gravity surge out of Awilix. She's just there to pressure you in the early game, and if she can knock you up herself, great. If not, I'm just here to feather step you and steal your buffs.
Hey, the feather step is still a very solid lock-in for setup on the side of Enable. You have the Cabrakan, first of all, and that's always solid lockdown potential. And then when you combine the Scylla Crush and Root on top of the Awilix Feather Step, that's a solid damage combination.
Plenty of damage for Enable, but I am a little bit worried about their level of setup. But with Cabrakan in support, that's 2 stuns that you're going to be able to get, plus the Tremors, plus the wall. So I don't mind the pick overall. Thor going to round it out for Quantum. A very old school mid-jungle combination between Ra and Thor that Quantum is relying on to propel themselves up into the SCL once more for the summer split. Enable still trying to keep their hopes alive, as well as Kaz Esports' hopes, and trying to send this into a tiebreaker.
And I would probably favor Quantum's draft here, though, simply because of the CC that they're able to maintain steadily throughout this game. When you have the Athena taunts, and we've seen Coach Killy already on this Athena today, and he had an excellent performance then. I would hate to see him a second game around with this god now that he's already had a chance to warm up with it.
Yeah, this is a very similar composition to what we saw out of Quantum earlier. It's Sirduckbot playing Ra, Coach Killy on Athena, Joeeey on Cernunnos. I'm pretty sure Mango Man was on Osiris as well. I mean, this is a combination that worked for Quantum earlier, specifically whenever they went up against Kaz. This is a very similar composition that allowed them to get the win over their defending counterparts out of the SCL, but now Kaz needs some help out of the Challenger Cup team Enable, trying to force that tiebreaker. Early on here, nothing too out of the ordinary. I like this Soulstone pickup for Scylla in the mid lane. When we saw Alexum play it earlier, he went for the Soul Trap start, getting a little bit of extra power. But this gives a little bit more mana sustain, a little bit more mana efficient, and gold efficient with that starter item, as well as the Bumba's Mask for the mid laner.
Not very often, though, that you see the Cabrakan Scylla actually being the ones getting out traded for clear. I am a bit surprised at how much poke Switch did take early on.
And they're just not able to full tremor that wave. This time around, he'll be able to do so because Sirduckbot and Coach Killy were off clearing those fire elementals, getting those instead of the right side mid harpies. But the speed buff was secured by Enable, and this is what you expect whenever you've got an Awilix on your side. You're not going to be losing a whole lot of buffs. In fact, you're going to be trying to take buffs more often than not, just really relying on that insane base damage that Featherstep provides.
And Pretty Flacco and Slab definitely wanting to play the more aggressive end here, but that's going to be really difficult trying to fight so early on into Mango Man and Maloaise on Thor.
Yeah, Thor and Osiris pretty good at fighting early on, can definitely match that early game pressure that Flacco can provide with that Awilix, and that's why you see the Awilix just back up and allow Maloaise to secure his own speed buff. No successful invades quite yet for either team, everyone getting their own buffs, and I think that overall favors Quantum more than anything because their composition seems to be very mid to late game focused, whereas Enable, they've got a little bit of early game, a little bit of mid game, and some late game as well with Zhao on this Scylla, but overall I think Quantum really wants to get to the 15 to 18 minute mark and then start the team fight from there.
And team fights are really what a lot of these games tend to fall down to as well, considering that objectives are what win the game. Clearly, I mean, you need the Gold Furies, you need the Fire Giants, and it'll be much easier for Quantum to secure those as the game progresses.
Maloaise could have been in some trouble there, but Zhao decides not to use that route. There's the Purification Beads out from Pretty Flacco after a good taunt from Coach Killy, sitting right there in the middle of the wave. Good double tap there out of Maloaise to knock Zhao down to even lower HP. Make sure that there is no thought of contesting these fire elementals that Quantum have controlled through the first respawn.
That hammer is already chunking so heavily, and against a Scylla at that, and the fact that Pretty Flacco no longer has his beads available, you can expect that Coach Killy is going to be all over him.
And Sirduckbot was on point first game up against Kaz with these snipes on the Raw, so I anticipate that we may see more of the same, especially without any Purification Beads on the jungler. Mango Man has pressure in the solo side. There's pressure in mid for Quantum. The left-hand side is basically even right now. Neither Joeeey nor No Compromise really getting the better end of their opposition. So across the map, Quantum seems to be coming up with more pressure than Team Enable.
The issue with this Hunter matchup especially, though, is the fact that Compromise is at a slight disadvantage considering that he doesn't have an ultimate that will provide the same sort of peeling for himself, such as that Joeeey can find with the Kern. And knowing that, I kind of expect Joeeey to play this lane incredibly aggressive, starting more around like the level 7 to 9 mark.
He's almost there. He's level 6, as is No Compromise. Both backing to finish their boots at the same time as Pretty Flacco shows up on that right-hand side. He's going to eat a double tap for his measures as Maloaise gives him a little bit of spin as well. Mango Man wants to get this dive on, and there it goes. Lord of the Afterlife underneath the tower, already falling low, but Maloaise going to clean up the first blood with the Anvil of Dawn. Quantum getting themselves off on the right foot, trying to get back into the SEL.
And there's just nothing that Pretty Flacco could have done about that at all. I mean, he was playing it safe to his tower line, maybe try and back up a little bit more, but with their buffs coming up, you don't really expect to lose your buffs to an invade as an Awilix, especially when you have the early game presence from your team.
Snipe hits 2 there from Sirduckbot, but the walls from Switch prevent the aggression continuing from Quantum. Good poke there from the mid laner, but no kills because of it. Quantum do successfully invade the speed, as you were mentioning, and Mango Man heads on back to that right side, but No Compromise has got to worry about this 4-man grouping in his side of the jungle. Quantum continues to just put the pressure on to the opposition. Switch stood up and tried to get a little bit of damage. It gets taunted in by Coach Killy. Good damage off that crush from LingXiaoWho, and there's the I'm a Monster as well. The reset, can't quite find it again onto Coach Killy, but a great fight back from Enable evens the score at 1-1.
I'm a bit surprised that Pretty Flacco wasn't able to get the ultimate off on Awilix when the knockup came through, but it's still a favorable trade for Quantum. Excuse me, for Team Enable, considering that they had just suffered an invade and now they're getting the chance to counter invade on the opposite side of the map.
Yeah, exactly. They get the red, now they're going to get the purple as well. So an overall win for Team Enable, getting a little bit closer to that late game, specifically for Zhao on the Scylla, who positioned that fight very, very well, very patiently, and then hit the I'm a Monster in a pretty clean fashion without any real setup from his team. Flacco did find the knockup, but as you mentioned, the Gravity Surge just wasn't even necessary in that situation.
And there is Pretty Flaco. He's looking for that. He wants Coach Killy to be just a little bit more forward, not really paying attention for him to jump over those mid camps. That's an ideal spot for an Awilix to hang around, because you can even potentially pull people through to that side of the wall.
Xiao still hasn't backed to finish off his boots quite yet. Hasn't backed at all to do anything really with this gold. We're 6 minutes in. Still waiting on him going back to base. Definitely will be the some boots, I imagine, though I suppose he could go for straight into a Doom Orb, something along those lines, just trying to get himself even closer to that late game if that's what he wants to go for.
And that's always a pretty ideal situation. You just want to look for the boots and just the early items as soon as possible, especially when you consider that the Gold Fury is still available on the map. I know that it's early in the game. Team Enable had just secured Oracle Vision for themselves, though, and I would say that that certainly favors them because Quantum have a pretty strong Gold Fury secure at the get-go. That's
true. That raw snipe in one combination just does a ton of burst damage. That's pretty hard to get in there and contest, even with an I'm a Monster. That if you can line it up so your one and your ult hit at the same time as Raw, so that's a ton of burst damage that even Scylla at this part of the game can't really manage to kind of contest up against. But the right side of the map has been the story thus far for Quantum. Even with Flaco playing this Awilix, you expect to have pressure in the jungle. It's been Thor and Osiris who have really gotten the better end of that right side.
And realistically, I feel as though this has probably been Maloaise's best performance on this Thor all day long. His double taps have been completely on point the entire game. And I know we're only 6.5 minutes into it, but the pressure that he's able to exert already is pretty phenomenal.
It's been impressive thus far. I'd agree with you. Maloaise has looked very, very comfortable on this Thor, including not only those double taps even without the wall in some scenarios, but picking up that first blood with the ultimate, which was set up largely by Mango Man, but Maloaise did a bulk of that work as well, as Pretty Flaco would come into lane and gave him the double tap. If you're just joining us, this is potentially the final game of the relegations for Europe today. We still got North America to come as soon as Europe's all wrapped up, but Quantum, they're the ones who control their own destiny. If they win this game, they join the Challenger Cup team Dual Mains, who are able to get into the SCL with a 3-0 victory. All three wins coming their way today. Impressive play out of them. Quantum, they need to win this if they want to return to the SCL. Otherwise, it'll be a 3-way tie between Enable, Quantum, and Kaz to figure out who goes on to the summer split of the SCL.
And I don't think any team ever wants to leave it into the tiebreaker fate because, I mean, you always just want to lock it in from the get-go.
A lot easier that way. Just a little bit cleaner. You know, you don't have to worry as much. A lot of pressure in those tiebreaker scenarios for sure. A lot of pressure onto Maloaise as he continues to try and push this lead. And Flaco taking a lot of damage, jumps into that heal from Sirduckbot. Never even got a chance to use purification beads. No snipe use there either. Coach Killy again setting it up with that ult. Maloaise tried to find Slap on this right-hand side as Xiao went up into his ultimate in the mid lane trying to combine with Switch. A lot of ultimates all across the map, but not a lot of kills because of any of those. The only kill we saw was without any ultimates, and that was on a Pretty Flaco in that jungle who continues to fall farther and farther behind Maloaise on this Thor.
That was just an incredibly unfortunate scenario for an Awilix. You get locked into that tight jungle corridor, you try to immune the damage with your Feather Step, but then you end up flipping into even more damage, and you're kind of just stuck with nowhere to go, except back to base.
You're toast at that point, exactly. Sitting at level 7 below both supports, Coach Killy and Switch, both at level 8. But no Compromise, he's the one who's got a lead right now on that left-hand side as Pretty Flaco again flips himself into a bad spot. Look at Mango Man on this rotation, trying to find the jungler. Can't find the 1 or the 2, and a nice root from Xiao gets Mango Man off of his jungler. The wild hunt there from Joeeey never found a home. Good peel for Pretty Flaco, courtesy of Xiao.
I really like this grouping by Quantum. They recognize how far behind the enemy jungler is, so if they just keep exerting as much pressure as possible, it'll be incredibly difficult for an Awilix, such an early game to mid-game jungler, to find their footing back into the game.
Slap almost has his ultimate back up. Mango Man does have that Lord of the Afterlife, but not a lot of mana. There's a taunt onto Slap. Doesn't have that Eagles Rally still. Knock-up is good, and the pluck back onto Mango Man. Still has his Lord of the Afterlife, but may not have enough mana to use it. Look at the damage that Pretty Flacco took there, and I think that was just from a double tap there from Maloaise once more.
100% just completely getting shredded by everybody on the side of Quantum. He's just too far behind to have any sort of relevant damage, and the follow-up just wasn't there for Team Enable.
No Compromise takes a ton of poke. Was 3/4 HP and all of a sudden 1/4 HP. Just off the entangling roots from Cernunnos and that double tap from Maloaise on the Thor, who's just been all over the map. He's right there in terms of player damage with his slapboxing solo laner Osiris. I mean, that's how you know you're doing damage.
And Maloaise hasn't even finished hi-rez yet. This is just with T2 of the item, and he's still doing so much work with the in-hand after the abilities.
Look at him zone away everybody from the Gold Fury except for Switch, who's able to get in there. Snipe secures the Gold Fury for Quantum. Double, triple knockup out of Flacco, and that's another I'm a monster for Xiao. He finds one, Compromise the other. Maloaise feeling himself maybe a little too much, dives into the back line and has to take an exit stage right. Quantum get the Gold Fury, but a great play out of Switch and Xiao and Flacco as well. A triple knockup over the wall puts Enable in the lead 3-2 in kills.
Had Team Enable been looking back for even one more second, they would have 100% been able to clean up Maloaise there, I think.
Yeah, unfortunate that they just didn't expect him to go in, I suppose, and can't really say I blame them. A pretty ballsy maneuver out of the jungler, but no Compromises made the rotation over to this right-hand side, and Enable going to try and get the Portal Demon, an objective for themselves after winning in terms of the kills in that last little scuffle, but Mango Man being level 11 and Pretty Flacco being low on mana is enough to dissuade Enable from going for the objective.
The damage just isn't available there for Team Enable quite yet to secure that Portal Demon after losing the Gold Fury, but more importantly, because Quantum secured that Gold Fury, it was so crucial for Switch to set up that double for the Scylla, because had he not done that, Quantum would have most definitely looked to try and group, and I think either clear out the lanes to look for pressure onto the Portal Demon, or even just poke out the little bit of the tower and look for a potential pick.
Xiao definitely looking pretty strong thus far on the Scylla in the mid lane. 2 out of the 3 kills for Enable are onto the late game mage in the mid lane. And then the other one, that's on No Compromise, your Hunter. So that's basically best case scenario thus far for Team Enable, despite being a little bit down in gold. Portal Demon this time started up by Quantum. Nice wall out of Maloaise. Prevents the escape route from Slap, but again, Mango Man knocked up and pulled back in. Flacco trying to put damage into him, but it's not enough. He's 3 levels down. I'm a monster, though, from Xiao. Once more, finds Mango Man. The reset wasn't good. Coach Killy sets up Sirduckbot for the snipe, and Maloaise thinking about going in one more time, but realizes he's a little bit too low. Great plays out of both mid laners, really setting up their respective teams.
And that right there, they need to start respecting Xiao on this Scylla. They cannot permit to just keep paying attention, trying to slap out as much damage as possible onto the rest of Team Enable. They need to be a lot more aware of where that Scylla's ultimate is coming from, because he's connecting and securing every single time.
Really impressive play so far out of him in the mid lane. He's working on what could be a Spear of Desolation second item. Could also be a Divine Ruin. We see a lot of mid laners like to go for that penetration and damage option up against any sort of healing, and Raw certainly fits that bill. But while Enable's getting Oracles on the left, Quantum, they're getting that Portal Demon on the right. Catches Enable sleeping there a little bit, and are able to secure another burst of gold for themselves in the pocket.
When a team fight goes down and neither side really suffers any casualties, but you know that their cooldowns have, they've reset enough to where you feel comfortable walking away from that objective, they should have been a little bit more wary of Quantum trying to capitalize on that moment, though, considering they do have the Raw available.
Mango Man just trying to bully out both Slap and Pretty Flacco, and it's going to be able to do so pretty well here, Taco, just because he's full health, Slap pretty low, Pretty Flacco's all the way out of mana, basically. He's just going to farm up his back Harpies. Mango Man continues to have a little bit more pressure on that side. Oh, just able to get out of that taunt there. Xiao able to use that Sentinel just barely, and Switch does not get blocked off by the wall from Maloaise. Close play there in the mid lane, but everyone gets out A-okay.
I mean, they might be A-okay in the mid lane, but the dual lane is a completely different story. No Compromise is actually bullying Joeeey pretty heavily.
Maloaise used the hammer to close the gap, trying to get into the range, but the Oracles gave Maloaise away. No Compromise knew that ultimate was coming, jumps out without having to use any sort of relics whatsoever. Maloaise definitely, to me, Taco, seems like he's feeling himself a little bit here. He's been on point with these double taps. These walls have been solid as well. but also a little bit of over-aggression, kind of assuming that no one can, you know, punish him for his place.
He needs to be a little bit more careful, and even in that engagement where he tried to put the ultimate down and no compromise, more patience would have probably found him connecting with the Thor ultimate, because the fact is, No Compromise didn't wait out for the ultimate immediately. He was jumping at the same time that Thor was landing. I think that he was expecting the ultimate to come out a lot sooner.
Mango Man in a lot of trouble. Again, knocked up and pulled, but he turns it around, and he's looking for Slap, but Slap goes up, and it goes right down on top of him. Close, but no cigar for Mango Man. Slap able to find that kill by literally the skin of his teeth.
I feel like so many of these engagements are just absolute greed from these players. They need to just have a little bit more discipline. I think that Mango Man could have possibly survived there, but he looks for the kill instead.
Possibly, but with that Eagles rally available for Slap, if Lord of the Afterlife is used defensively, can gotta get chased down. Gold Fury started up once more, but it goes Quantum's way. No Compromise. Try to seal it with that hail of arrows, but the Searing Pain once more from Sirduckbot does its job. Dunk down, not onto Xiao, who again escapes using that Sentinel at the very last moment. Presence of mind out of the mid laner has been solid thus far.
The timing has been everything with these teams, especially on the side of Quantum, just not being able to quite find it, but Xiao's able to find the ultimate!
Another reset for Xiao out of the mid lane. This Scylla is on fire. The setup has been good, but the follow-up has been that much better. Xiao puts down Sirduckbot once more. These I'm a monsters, man. They are on point, but there you have to give credit to Switch. The perfectly timed ultimate to lock in Sirduckbot, who didn't have his Aegis yet despite being level 12, hadn't backed for it quite yet. Strong plays out of Enable as they try to continue their hopes of making it to the summer split of the SCL.
Scylla's primarily regarded as that late game mage carry, but right now with the way that Xiao's playing her, he might as well be the mid game carry.
Well, he's got to be worried about Joeeey, who's going aggressive and finds the solo kill onto Xiao, courtesy of that Wild Hunt. Coach Killy's come crashing down, and he's here to help out. Switch low on HP and low on mana. Mango Man notches his first kill of the game. 2 now for Quantum. 6-5 read the kills, but Quantum, they're the ones with the 5v3 pressure.
Quantum just went 0 to 100 right there, and it's like right as you're complimenting somebody and then immediately just pressured onto it.
Slap went in. There's a snipe out of Sirduckbot and knocks Slap down. Mango Man gets the credit. Sirduckbot is still here and healthy as Flacco jumps away. Sunder hits, as does the Anvil. The Aegis saves him for a moment, but not for long. Maloaise makes his jungle opposition pay. Now 7-6. What looked like Enable starting to get their footing in this game. Quantum, as you mentioned, has turned it up. 0 to 100. 4 kills. The tier 1 tower, the tier 2 tower. And I don't know if they're done, Taco. They could go for Portal Team in here.
This is worst case scenario for Team Enable. Not only did they fall and stack their death timers, but on top of that, Quantum have the healing composition. They have the raw. And whenever you permit a team with a healer and so much sustain to be even or even get this far ahead and start the snowball potential, it becomes such an issue to prevent them from sieging all of your towers or any of the objectives on the map.
Let's take a look at the graphs, because this was just a precipice that Enable just fell off of. I mean, Quantum, it's close, so Quantum's a little bit in the lead, Quantum's a little bit in the lead, and then all of a sudden it just goes heavily into the red team's favor. Another objective secured by Sirduckbot's ultimate. And that's going to push that gold lead near 7,000 gold at the 18-minute mark. What looked like Enable starting to come back. That little spike, that's where Sirduckbot got gobbled up by Xiao. Ever since then, it's been all Quantum.
It was just Joeeey finding the kill onto Xiao and Team Enable trying to make the response to help out their mid laner, putting everybody into such a horrible position that allowed Quantum to just completely steamroll through that jungle.
Joeeey just did what every ADC dreams of, and that's nothing for the first 16 minutes of the game. And then you make one rotation and you farm. And then you just make one play. As you mentioned, I agree with you. It was whenever Joeeey killed Xiao, who's been absolutely on fire all game long for Enable. All of a sudden, it's Quantum with all the momentum. It's Enable on the back foot, trying to get back into it. Haven't been able to do so thus far. Defender of Olympus forces Slap away with that Eagles rally, but there's a lot of CC waiting for him. The taunt's ready to go, and Slap falling very low already. So is Maloaise. He's going to have to go up into the sky, but Sirduckbot did clean up Slap successfully. And the snipe On to Pretty Flacco, 2 kills now for Sirduckbot in this engagement, double for him, 3 in total. Quantum continues to just roll over Enable.
I really thought that Maloaise was going to go in a lot sooner with that Thor ultimate and just die to the tower aggro, but well played by him to wait it out just a little bit longer, allow his teammates to tank that tower up for him.
Joeeey uses the Wild Hunt to just make sure that no compromise can't clear the wave. Love this play out of the Hunter. May not have needed the purification beats after CCing no compromise for 2 seconds straight, but either way, it results in 500 gold for Quantum, and now that the rest of the team has made the rotation, you can make that 2,000, another 1,500 about to come by way of this tier 2 tower on left. All of a sudden, Enable only have 1 tower left standing to defend their base, and the Gold Fury's about to respawn in the next 15 seconds. Quantum's already up 10,000 gold, Taco. I don't know if Enable can come close to fighting this.
This is absolutely brutal. When you're just on the cusp of being so perfectly even and even potentially in the lead, for a second there, it looked like Enable were about to have the upper hand in the game. And then just Quantum says, no, this is our SCL slot. Like, we are not getting removed or going into a tiebreaker of any sorts. And they're looking very confident right now at securing their position.
Sirduckbot has been on point with these raw snipes all game long. Not only in terms of the people that he's hitting, but the objectives as well. He's secured 3 Gold Furies for Quantum with it. He's secured, I believe, 2 Portal Demons with it as well. This raw pick definitely utilized very well by Quantum's mid laner thus far, and is trying to get back into the SCL. As you mentioned, Quantum, they're the ones who control their own destiny as the last remaining tower falls, and now Enable only have to rely on their Phoenixes. They want to defend their base. Meanwhile, they've got some good poke onto all the tier 1 towers for Quantum, but poke doesn't get you gold, and you need to knock it down, and Enable, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that anytime soon.
The problem for Enable is they need the perfect engage, or the perfect counter engage, I should say, because it'll most likely be Quantum looking for the engage with Coach Killy on that Athena. But if they can somehow pull off the ideal engage where Xiao just hits the most insane Scylla ultimate of all time, which I think might be possible with the way we've seen him playing this god, but it's just the circumstances have to line up, and I'm just not certain that Quantum are going to permit their positioning to fall into that kind of situation.
Yeah, Zhao's had a great game, but there's only so much one man can do. A lot of it's been because of Switch, though, and again, he's the one setting up for the mid laner, but immediately onto Zhao. He's forced to use that ultimate defensively. Sirduckbot on the run as well from the pressure Fry Flacco, but Joey's gonna be able to clean him up. Maloaise looking for Zhao, finds 2 with that dunk as Joeeey finds his 2nd kill on his own. Maloaise first into both of his relics as Mango Man takes over for zoning the back line, but all the while, Sirduckbot, Joeeey, Coach Killy, they're on the objective. Mango Man and Maloaise handling the rest, and Quantum continues their reign of dominance in this game.
And there's just nowhere for a team Enable to go. They were chased all the way into their Phoenixes, and I'm certain that Maloaise and Mango Man could have kept going if they'd wanted to, but they just saw no need to.
They don't need to. They needed the objective here, Taco, and that's why they're waiting for Joeeey and Sirduckbot to show up. Good dive there onto Sirduckbot, but just a little bit too far behind. One man taunted in, no real damage onto that Awilix. Good damage out of Zhao, as well as that double knockup from Flacco, but he's only level 13. That Phoenix falls, and Mango Man, he's level 19. What do you do against someone who's 6 levels above you?
Just an unfortunate circumstance where Mango Man happened to be the closest person in the Awilix knockup, so he's going to be the one getting pulled every single time. But when you pull a tanky solo laner, well, that just makes it easier for him to get in your team's face.
You're initiating for him at that point, exactly. Mango Man pretty low here as Maloaise up in the sky, finds the dunk down onto Switch, the full combo onto him before he's knocked up by that Awilix. Maloaise falling pretty low here, is gonna fall to the damage from the Phoenix and Flacco. Snipe was off the mark from Sirduckbot, but the left side Phoenix due to fall any moment. One more auto will do it. There it goes. Quantum knocked down 2 out of 3 Phoenixes. Zhao with an ambitious ultimate over the wall. No one home.
4 members still have Fire Giant on the side of Quantum, so even after losing Maloaise, they're still sitting pretty. There's no reason for Quantum to need to rush anything at this stage. They can just very easily spend the gold that they just received from knocking down those 2 Phoenixes, and then immediately look for the final shutdown of that last standing Phoenix for Team Enable.
Sirduckbot is all alone here. Coach Killy does have his ultimate, but it's not going to get there in time. Poor positioning out of the mid laner. makes it so Quantum can't end too soon in this scenario. 12-8 read the kills. Quantum still in control without a doubt in this game. They've got 2 Phoenixes down. They've got 3 members with Fire Giant for a little bit longer. But Enable's not out of it quite yet, Taco.
They're not out of it quite yet because, like I mentioned earlier, when we saw them lining up for that Fire Giant engage, there is still the possibility for a Scylla to come through and just have the most godlike ultimate. It's just the reality and the punishment. They need to punish if they're given that window of opportunity, and if they don't, it's just gone.
Well, this could be it, right? I mean, Sirduckbot caught sleeping by those oracles. He falls down to 3 members there. That could be the opportunity, I suppose, for Enable. I mean, if there is one, you need to be out. You need to have them outnumbered. Maloaise is still respawning, I believe. Sirduckbot's certainly on that respawn timer. But the problem is that Enable, they've got 2 Phoenixes down. It's the 2 that are farthest away from that Fire Giant, the mid and left.
That's what's hurting Enable the most right now, if anything, is that even with the numbers advantage, they still have their entire roster so far behind in levels that they won't necessarily have the burst damage that they need, other than Xiao, who's got to be completely on point with that ultimate. And as long as Quantum force him out and to use it like defensively, like we saw Maloaise and Mega Man already make him expend it before at the Fire Giant fight, if that happens again, it's not a good look for Enable.
That was the perfect setup there by Quantum to just tell Maloaise, go make sure Xiao doesn't win the game, doesn't get them back in this for Enable, and that's exactly what I expect him to do moving forward as we get back into game. Quantum close to moving on and getting back into the SCL. Enable, they're on life support here, as is Kaz Esports by extension, because they need Enable to win this game to force a 3-way tiebreaker if they want to keep their hopes alive.
It's just the goal disparity is probably one of the worst parts about all of this for Enable, because Quantum just has the itemization on top of the levels that it becomes so difficult just trying to shut people out of your base. I mean, Pretty Flacco's nearly dying to fire waves.
Yeah, he's level 16.
It's rough.
He's the same level as Coach Killy. He's only 1 level above Switch. It's been a difficult little time for this Awilix jungle, who, again, selected early in the draft, and you're right, in a do-or-die situation, I like my jungler to be on a comfort pick, but that comfort pick also has to fit with our draft or with the enemy draft, and I don't think the Awilix really did either of those things. Left side Phoenix siege begins as Mango Man immediately goes right into the back line looking for Xiao, just creating space, and a huge jump coming out of Maloaise. The snipe is good as well. Double, make that 3. Joeeey finds Switch. Xiao's ultimate isn't that game-changing one we needed to see, and Quantum wombo combo their way back into the SCL. Quantum's gonna play in the summer split.
Xiao wasn't able to find the game-changing ultimate, but Sirduckbot and Maloaise certainly had no issues involved with that, and that Ross night was absolutely beautiful. Duckbot has been doing like a supreme job all around, all day long on this Raw.
That was nice. That's what you like to see. I mean, Mango Man went over the top and set it up, but Maloaise was right there on top of him. Great play out of basically everyone from Quantum, but I think I want to highlight Joeeey here because he was the one who, like you mentioned, this game was looking like it could have been Enables with Xiao playing so well, but this is the play where it all turned around.
And he just completely face tanks the crush as well. He's like, I'm all right with this because I know that I've got the follow-up to make it happen. And the way that he caught Xiao, because Xiao had actually just escaped from the mid lane, he knew that his escape was unavailable, so if he just committed, the kill was all his.
Quantum play very, very well all across the board. I think everyone deserves some shout-outs on their side. Sirduckbot with the snipes, of course. Maloaise all over the place, especially towards the end there and the beginning. But Mango Man had a great game. I mean, everyone played very well. Coach Killy setting up. You got to give shout-outs all across the board for those Quantum guys. And they're going to be heading back into the SCL. Let's take a quick look at the standings to see exactly what we saw during all of Europe here today. Relegations over and done with. Those two teams at the top, Dual Mains and Quantum, they're moving on and playing in the summer split.
And I know that both of those teams, especially the challenger team of Dual Mains, more than excited getting a chance to face off against some of the other EU SCL teams.
I mean, you look at what some of the Challenger Cup teams did during the spring split, specifically in North America. Astral Authority, your dominant team that won the spring LAN and looked absolutely insane doing so, they came out of the Challenger Cup. So you know the Dual Mains, I mean, they've seen the success these Challenger Cup teams can have even in their first split. in the SEL. They're going to try and replicate that themselves. That's it for Europe, but we got all of NA relegation still to come. We're going to go to a quick break as we switch regions. We'll be right back.